All right, guys, welcome to another live stream. Welcome to another live stream. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. All right, so today we got our first rate cut since last year, December, I believe, was our last rate cut. So, very positive for the market. We got a 25 basis point cut, and we'll get more into that. Um, but yeah, I think the markets reacted pretty good. I think there was a slight sell off in the beginning, and now it looks like the market's recovered. And we'll take a look at some prices here, but we're going to go over first what the Jerome Powell, the Fed meeting today was about, what they talked about, and things like that. Before I get into that, let me check my mic. Let me check my mic. Give me just a second. Check my mic. Today was about what they talked about and things like that. Before I get into that, let me check my mic. All right, cool. Looks like my mic is working pretty good. Okay, so let's get into the key announcements. What happened today? So it says today, Jerome Powell, chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve, made several key announcements and comments that reflected the Fed's view of the economy and where policy is headed. So the first announcement that he made was the interest rate cut, right? Everybody's talking about interest rate cuts. I think it was priced in for a while now that we're going to get this 25 basis point cut on the Fed Watch tool. If you went to the website, it was around 95+% for the last couple weeks. So it was kind of expected that we're going to get that rate cut. So it says the Fed lowered its benchmark interest rate by 25 basis points for the first time since December of 2024. So the new rate change is from 4% to new rate change is 4% to 4.2%. I don't know if that's correct. Um, the new rate change. Oh, okay. So maybe it was 4.25% to 4.25 to 4.5 before. Now the new rate range is 4% to 4.25. So that makes sense. Okay, so secondly, reason for cut. So Powell described it as a risk management cut, meaning the move is intended to guard against weakening in the labor market. Remember, we got those labor market reports. I think it was like a couple weeks ago where it says job numbers or unemployment was going up. So weakening labor market, meaning the move is intended to guard against weakening in the labor market rather than reflecting a strong economic momentum. Okay. And then secondly, it says job growth has slowed, unemployment is rising slightly, and there are signs that the labor market is slowing strength. And it says inflation remains elevated, and Powell said inflation pressures, particularly from tariffs, need to be watched. Some price increases might be one time, but there's risk they could become more persistent. So he's still watching for those tariffs and the effect on the tariffs. But essentially, weak labor market. He says inflation remains elevated, so you still got to watch that, and then the job growth, right? And then so the third thing that he discussed was outlook and policy path going forward. So he says there was no broad support among Fed officials for a larger half percentage point cut. Now a lot of people were thinking like, oh, we can potentially get a 50 basis point cut, but I don't think the percentage on the Fed watch tool, I don't think that was that high. I think it was like 64 or 70% we were going to get a 25 basis point cut, and around 30% to get a 50 basis point cut. And that percentage probably was lower going up until today. But yeah, it was basically priced in that we were going to get that 25, and that 50 basis point cut really wasn't coming across the table. And he was basically saying here that there was no support, I guess, amongst Fed officials that we were going to get that 50 basis point, I guess, amongst themselves. So it says here, the second bullet, it says projections hint at additional rate cuts before the end of the year. And I think this is very bullish for the market, because if we get a rate cut next month and then the following month, even if that is a total of 25 basis points, or 25 basis points each time, then we get a total of 75 before the year ends. And then there's speculation that we're going to get quite a few more next year. Okay, so additional rate cuts on the way. We didn't get the 50 basis point cut. Now, I'm not sure if that's on the table for the next rate cut for October, and we'll see. But I think it's going to be 25, 25, 25. They're probably just going to ease into it, right? Okay, number 4, other topics covered. So it says Powell referred to a curious balance in the labor market. Both supply and demand for workers have dropped. Supply in part due to changes in immigration, demand to economic cooling. Secondly, he underlined that the Fed is still committed to its dual mandate, stable prices, and maximum employment. The trade-offs between the two are real, he says here. On politics, Powell reaffirmed the Fed's independence and said decisions are driven by data and arguments and not political pressure. Yeah, because there's a lot of people that think, the new administration, well, we don't think the new administration is kind of putting pressure on him was putting pressure on him to cut rates. But he continues to say, we're going off the numbers, not political pressures. Okay, so what does this mean for the Fed? What does this mean? So the Fed is shifting from holding rates steady toward a modest easing, but doing so carefully. And then secondly, labor market softening is now a bigger concern than it was a few months ago. Inflation isn't defeated yet. Shocks from tariffs complicate things, so he's still worried about the tariffs. And then future rate moves would depend heavily on incoming data. Remember, that's what I was going to say when I was talking about the 50 basis point cut. The reason why I think we didn't get that, because remember, we got the PPI data, and that came back favorable for a rate cut, but then we got the CPI data that showed it came in as expected and not under. So inflation is still kind of show that inflation was slightly going up. But yeah, so he's basically going to be waiting on future. Hey, what's up, Ronof? Load up the bag. Yeah, man. I think assets are going to be going up here pretty soon. And then we'll get into the prices too really quickly. But yeah, I think going forward, we're probably just going to be relying on these CPI data, PPI data for the upcoming months, and any other economic data, jobs numbers, things like that, ADP numbers. And then once those numbers come in each month, it's probably going to dictate how much of a rate cut we get. But I still think we'll probably get 25 basis points up into the end of the year, right? Okay, so let's take a look at prices and let's see where crypto's at. If we look at BTC, actually BTC has been selling off. I've been keeping track of the altcoin season indicator on CoinMarketCap. Currently it's at 71. It continues to go up. So a lot of people on X are saying that we are going into altcoin season here. And I think that is the case. Now the environment is kind of perfect for that. We get money, liquidity coming back into the market because of Fed rate cuts. Historically, a year after the halving, we do get this altcoin season, and altcoins have been bleeding out for the last, majority. I would say 85 to 90%. Obviously, you have your outliers that have done good, but the majority of the altcoin market has been bleeding off, and really, not many of the altcoins have reached their all-time highs. So, we still need to wait for that. And I think a lot of them are going to go well past their all-time highs. So, yeah. So, it looks like BTC slightly down. It's sitting at 115,800. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum looks like it's keeping steady at 4,500. What else? Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I think everything else has been pretty much keeping steady. But I think going into the end of September, the fact that we already solidified the rate cut, we'll probably start to see, right now the market's just kind of inhaling the news and taking it in. But I think once a week from now, next week, maybe end of this week, we're going to start to see some serious price movement, specifically in the crypto market. All right. I think that's pretty much it for the market update. Very bullish. And actually, let me look at the stocks. Let's see what the indices did today. Okay, so it looks like the NASDAQ slightly down. And again, people say that when the Fed cuts rates, typically the market sells off a little bit because we've been pricing in this 25 basis point cut for the last month or two. So the market has already priced it in. So to kind of push people out of the market, we usually get that sell off. It's almost like Nvidia. When Nvidia reports earnings and things like that, like they always report good earnings, but they always sell off. And I think because people expect that, and then they buy the dip, and then the stock goes up. Okay, so the New York Stock Exchange is up, Dow is up, Apple's up. So it looks like pretty much the whole market is decently up. The only thing that's really down today is the Nasdaq. But I think that we're going to see that go up pretty good. Been buying AVAX and ADA. Yeah, I think AVAX is going to do really good. It's actually, I think in the last 2 weeks, AVAX went up 10%, right? I think it was chilling around that $22, $23 mark. And right now, I think it's sitting at 30 bucks. But I think this is one of the altcoins that will get back to its all-time highs, right? Which is like 150 and probably push a little bit past that. Maybe high, like 180, 190, possibly in the 200s. But it's sitting at a $12.8 billion market cap. A lot of people will say, a 10x from here is not that unrealistic, because I do think AVAX is one of those plays that will get back to its all-time highs, which will probably put it close to 80 to $100 billion market cap. ADA too, I'm not the biggest fan of ADA, but I think, it's top 5 coins, so obviously it's going to do good. And, it has a community behind it, so I don't see why ADA wouldn't at least reach its all-time highs, which I'm not sure, but go check. Let me check to see when ADA's top. ADA's at 31 billion. All-time high for ADA is $3. So a lot of people are predicting ADA could go to $5 this cycle. I don't see why not. I mean, $3 from here, it's already sitting at what? Close to $1. So 100 to $150 billion market cap by the end of the cycle. Maybe a lot higher, who knows? But you got to understand, we do have a lot of coins in the market now. So a lot of that liquidity is going to go into Solana. I think Solana still has a lot left to run. And then we still have Ethereum, which hasn't really broken its all-time high. Thoughts on Ethereum? Yeah, I've been researching it a lot and keep seeing the stock BMNR on my timeline a lot. I don't know what BMNR, it most likely you're probably talking about like an ETF or like a company that buys Ethereum. But I think Ethereum's going to do well. Right now, it's sitting at 4,500. Really, they say the start of altcoin season is when Ethereum really breaks its all-time highs. Now, we did break the all-time highs for Ethereum already. I think we hit like 4,900. But we really need to break that $5,000 mark convincingly, 5,200, 5,300. And then we can really say, okay, Ethereum's starting its run up. But I think it's really close to it. But I think Ethereum's going to do good. The only thing I would say about Ethereum, and just looking at the timeline left in the crypto market, I think it doesn't have, people are saying like 10, 12,000, which I think it's possible. But I really think it's probably going to stop at 75 to 8,000. Because if you really look at the market cap of Ethereum, it's already 500 to 550. Look it up. It's an Ethereum treasury company like MicroStrategy do. Yeah, that's what I figured. But I think that's going to be the play, right? I think those type of companies. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to work as well for Ethereum. It may, because it's the second coin. It's number 2 on market cap, or coin market cap. So I think it could work out. But again, you got to really look at it. Like Ethereum has so much more competitors. So they're going to do the same thing for Solana. They're going to do the same thing for ADA. and they kind of like Solana, ADA, they kind of Ethereum, they're trying to do the same thing, right? Like build out a platform, smart contract platform. So there's a lot more competitors for Ethereum. So a lot of the liquidity will get bought up. But for me, there's only going to be one of those type of coins, or maybe two or three that institutional people feel comfortable using. I think AVAX is going to be one of them because their team is strong. I mean, they got people that went to where did the founder go to? Cornell, went to Cornell University. So you have a lot of good scholars on that team. So I think AVAX, Solana, and Ethereum are probably going to be those top main chains. Now Sui too, since they have people from Facebook that joined the team. I think that project is going to do well, but I don't, it's going to be a handful. It's not going to be all of them, right? Okay, look it up. It's a treasury. They bought and hold Ethereum. So when Ethereum pops, the stock pops too. Yep, yeah, it's going to be something similar to MicroStrategy. Okay, but yeah, I think what I was saying earlier. I think Ethereum can reach 7 to 8,000. I think a lot of people, when the altcoin season starts, a lot of people get so optimistic that well, one, they don't have a plan to exit, but then two, they just get right now things are boring because prices are just dead. But people forget when altcoin season comes, things just start exploding. So, and then people think it can only go up, right? And so a lot of people on YouTube are selling you like, oh, okay, we're going to get more rate cuts in, next year. And that's typically what you see. You see a lot of positive catalysts. Like in 2021, towards the end, a lot of positive catalysts. And we saw prices move up substantially, and people thought you couldn't lose money, right? Because almost everybody's going to make money. Most people are holding some of the top 10 coins. So it's not like, I mean, some people are doing like crazy meme coins, but for the most part, a lot of people own Ethereum, ADA, XRP, those type of coins. So they're going to start making money 2 to 3x's, right? And they're going to start feeling good, and they're going to want to hold on until it keeps going up. And then that's when people get screwed. What are your thoughts on diversification? I've been thinking, I'm 26, about going more heavy in high conviction plays and be more offensive because I have a gut feeling the stocks like crypto. Yeah, so my take on that, I honestly think diversification is good when you have a lot of money, right? But if you don't have a lot of money, diversification can be, for me, could be detrimental. You got to look at everybody in corporate, like the standard, like 9 to 5, people are investing in a 401k and they're diversified, right? But they don't make as much gains. They may be getting that standard 8 to 12%. So if you're going to diversify, I would keep it to maybe 2 to 3 plays that have substantial upside. And really, plays that have substantial upside, what you got to look at the market cap, right? So, we look at stuff like Nvidia that has trillion, like it's like 4 trillion. Tesla, it's like 1.4 trillion. And so that's kind of like the new big, like blue chip standard, like at least in the trillions, right? So if you want a lot of upside, in my opinion, but you still want to be diversified, I would keep it at 2 to 3 plays, whether it's in stocks or crypto, that are, 50 to $100 billion market cap and that have, that 3 to 5x potential. Obviously, you could go lower in market cap, a $1 billion market cap, a few $100 million market cap, and those provide a lot more upside, but it's going to be a lot more risk. So I wouldn't really diversify too much, but I would definitely maybe keep it to 2 to 3 plays. I think that's too where people get, I've been seeing a lot of crypto channels and they do reviews on all these coins, like every week, new coin review. And I'm pretty sure that person, and I've seen it on channels too, they invest in so many coins, right? So let's just say you had $100,000 to invest, and but you're looking at 30, 40 coins, right? You got this meme coin, that meme coin. You're looking at ADA, you're looking at AVAX, you're looking at Solana, you're looking at SUI, you're looking at Ethereum. Well, only some are going to really provide those, multiple gains, right? So it really doesn't benefit you to be in all these coins. So you really want to hone in on what you believe. Like you said, high conviction. You want to have your high conviction plays. Maybe you have a list of 5, but really you're only invested in 2 or 3, right? I think that's going to bring, and they usually, those 2 or 3 have the same type of upside, a 10, 15x upside potentially in the long term. So that way you make money on all those plays, opposed to 20, 30 plays. You're putting a few $100 in each, and then you're really not concentrated in one. So if one takes off, yeah, you're in it, but you don't have as much skin in the game. So yeah, I would say for crypto, it's a lot of research that you need to do in order to make sure you're in the right sector. I think you want to narrow it down to the sector that you think is going to do the best. And then if you can narrow that, look at the top plays, from market cap in that sector. Going down from 1 billion market cap to 300 billion to a million, and so on and so forth. And then, build a portfolio out of that. For stocks, same thing, right? But the thing for stocks too, I do want to get into stocks after the crypto market, but honestly, I'll probably only be looking for a 1x to 2x on stocks, and I'll be sticking to blue chip stocks, your Teslas, your Nvidias, your Palantirs, and stuff that's been around for a while that people are sleeping on, like Intel, Dell, those type of plays that you hold for 2 to 3 years and you get a 2 to 3x on your money. So I think those are the things you need to be looking at. I'm going heavy with ADA and AVAX, like you said. Both should do fairly well and kind of are blue chip. Yeah, those are blue chip. Those are going to do fine. I think those will reach their all-time high at least, which is for AVAX, it's like 3 to 4x from here, right? Or 4 to 5x from here, reaching its all-time high. So I don't think you could go wrong with that. And I think if you're fairly new to the crypto market or you don't want to lose money, like those are a good place to play, right? Or like I said, look at the top sectors, whatever sector is hot, AI, RWA, gaming, DeFi. Look at all the top contender, the top 10 in those sectors, and ask ChatGPT, hey, these are the 5 sectors in crypto. What are the top 5, 10 plays? Now, obviously, you got to do your research, check the team, check the Discord, check GitHub, check before you make that decision. But I think if you stick to ADA and AVAX, you're pretty much good to go. All right, let me start the game of chess, and I'm gonna do like 3 games. All right. Ooh, did I get a free piece? I think I did get a free. Oh, no. He's going to take that right there. Yep, I didn't get a free piece. I thought that was a free piece. Yeah, I'm 26. I don't want to lose money to willing to take risks, but calculated. Yeah, you're still pretty young, but you want to, you're getting close to the 30s. So you don't want to lose your money, especially like let's say you have 10, 15 grand saved up. You don't want to lose that, right? At least, slowly double it, triple it. And I think once you get to 100 grand, you'll be good to go. Ah, I hate that I did that. Actually, it's fine because if he takes that, he'll be screwed. And I could have probably just taken that. Um, let's do this. Yeah, but you don't want to like risk money, right? Especially 26. Take the conservative route. Like let's say you had 10 grand, you put it in AVAX. You make, let's just say 40, 50 grand by the end of the cycle. Then you pay your taxes. Maybe you're left with 35 or whatever you're left with. And then you take that 35, you continue to work, and yeah, he got me with that one. Um, and then you wait for the next cycle, right? And that's rinse and repeat. Um, oh, that was a misclick right there. That was a misclick. I'm playing so bad with this. Darn it. Wow, I wonder if I'm gonna win this. Oh, darn it. I was trying to go for that checkmate. I was being silly with it. All right, decline that. All right, let's do two more. I wasn't playing smart. All right, that. There we go. Uh, I think I'm good. All right. Looking for a job in finance. I have a degree in data science. Wanted to get into portfolio management, qualitative, or a regular data science. I think you could get an entry level position um, doing something like that. You just got to apply. It's really tough right now. I mean, you saw the jobs market, the jobs numbers. So it looks like a lot of people are having trouble finding a job. Um, any advice? I currently work at an aerospace company as a data. Well, it looks like you have some experience already. Um, I would just keep applying. I mean, what's wrong with your current job? Are you not getting paid enough? Because it looks like you said you want a data analyst or a data analyst position, but it looks like you have a data analyst position. Okay, so let's move here. I think he wasn't expecting that. I'll be in Good's position here. All right, let's trade. There we go. I think that was silly of him to trade. That's just my opinion. Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for more pay, then maybe a senior data analyst position would probably be the next best bet for you. What is he doing here? I'm good. There's no way he's winning this. Absolutely no way. No way he's winning this game. I don't see it happening, buddy. I don't see it. Let's go over here. I'll put this on pause. There we go. Yep. Running down that clock. There we go. There we go. There we go. No way you're winning this, buddy. I don't care what you think you're going to do. Absolutely not winning this. I won't allow it. I would not allow it. I would not allow it. Yeah. There we go. Nothing wrong with it, but I want more pay and looking for something more fun. I believe finance would be, yeah, man. So I got a degree in finance. I thought it was going to be fun. I mean, it could be like depending on what you do, but I feel like for it to be fun, like you have to get like some type of certification. So maybe like a C, like again, like CPA, CFA. But to be honest, all the fun finance stuff for me at least, like you have to do on your own as far as investing and stuff like that. I don't, at least for me, like I don't think there's going to be a one job out there that you're going to be like, oh, I liked it. I mean, maybe you like it for a little bit, but I still feel like you're going to not think it's fun or you're going to want to do something else after like 2, 3 years. So my advice is stick to one sector. So if you're already a data analyst, stay in that field, right? Stay in that field and just move up to senior data analyst. I don't know if data engineer is the same thing, but like just keep moving up in that field because that's what I did with audit. If you look at my day in a life video, audit. So I started with audit. I wanted to be a financial analyst, but I couldn't get a financial analyst job because at the time they wanted somebody with experience. So when I applied, I didn't get the position. So they were giving out audit positions at the time I was getting out of college. So I took that position and I stood with audit because I didn't want to transfer back to being a financial analyst because when I went to look for another job, it wasn't going to give me any leverage for pay, right? Because if I go from auditor to financial analyst, well, they're going to be like, oh, well, you don't have experience, right? So you want to stay data analyst, senior data analyst manager, and so on and so forth. Then what you do, you use that money to fund what you want to do. So figure out what you want to do and kind of build that on the side and then do that, right? Now, luckily for me, audit led to like it's compliance. So audit is basically like compliance. So there's a lot of different roles you can use that to transition over to. Gotcha. So I'm struggling with deciding to stick to the aerospace sector. I believe that sector. Yeah, when I was in audit, so this was a good thing that helped me out too. When I was in audit, I made a strategic decision to stay in banking. So when I was in college, I was a teller, kind of like a member service rep, but I was always at the banks. Like from college, I was working, I was making like, 14, 15 bucks an hour, but I was still in that environment to where I was still picking up stuff. And it did help me, now because I only worked at banks too. But what I was saying was I was an auditor for 8 years, moving up, making more money. And now with that, I'm able to move into different areas of the bank, like compliance. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like first and second line and third line at banks, but essentially like there's a department where it's like compliance for the bank and it's kind of similar to audit but not really, but it transitions. It's almost like if you think about airline points where some airline points you can transfer over with the right partner, like that type of thing. You'll find that maybe data analysts, you can't do something else in finance, but it can transition to another type of job that's kind of like similar, and then that experience will still give you negotiating power to get a good salary. Finance is already a built industry, so I can stay with the aerospace sector and become an expert in the field. Yeah, I would say if you want aerospace, stay in the aerospace sector, and just go deep in that sector, right? I stood in banking, and it just helped me out because now, when I go to different banks, it's kind of like the same language, same jargon, and it just helps you develop that resume. And again, use that money that you make as you get more money, as you get higher promotions and positions to then fund what you want to do on the side. If you want to do YouTube, do YouTube. If you want to do a business, do business. But now at least you have an income that's going to help you get that, opposed to, you just jumping around and doing whatever and not really having a game plan, right? But yeah, my brother told me what you said. Do the aero stuff as a job. Use my personal money for the investing stuff. Yep, and that's what I do, right? Um, and the thing is, your personal stuff is going to take long to kick off, depending on what it is. Like for me, it took like 3 years to get 1,000 subscribers, but I still don't make money off of it. But I kind of make money learning about finance and investing and crypto and stuff like that. So that's kind of that thing. This is more, um, you know, kind of like passion, but it doesn't pay. But I'm not looking at it like I need to use this to pay my rent. I can't be that silly, right? Like I need income coming in. So, I don't think everybody's job, to answer your question, I don't think everybody's job is going to be something that fun or somebody what you like in the beginning, at least. I think later on, like you'll probably can tolerate your job more because you know more. I remember an audit for the first 3 years of audit, I had no idea what I was doing. As far as like, I would come to work and just do what they told me to do, but I didn't understand how the process, like how everything intertwined, like why I was doing it, where my work was going to, like. But now being in the space for 8 years, everything kind of like is coming full circle. So it's just gonna take a long time. You're gonna need some job experience, but at least you're on the right track, and then you can work towards that. So by the time you're 30, 31, 32, you're ready. You know, you got your stuff in order, and then you can move forward. All right. I think that's pretty much it. The Fed did cut rates today, 25 basis points. So very positive for the market. We're going to see how that affects the market going into the end of the week and, end of this month. I think it's going to be very positive. I think it's going to send stuff, especially the crypto market, going a lot higher. And I think the end of the year is going to be great. Right. Okay. That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.